I had lost my rhythm with photography, so I gave myself a simple challenge. To take one photo every day for 30 days. This 30-day photo challenge started with my cat in the sunlight and it ended in Iceland. I didn't plan to make something big, I just wanted photography to become part of my everyday life again. So I picked up my Fujifilm X100F and told myself one photo every day for 30 days. Some days were quiet, some messy, some felt like nothing at all, but even on those days I found something. And just when I thought I might run out of steam, we flew to Iceland and everything changed. I started off this challenge with some simple and minimal images of my hand. I used sunlight and a plant as a backdrop to put my wedding ring in focus, and I think it worked really good. I really love to play with light and shadow and how the sunlight is reflected by the ring. Later I saw a really interesting scene in our apartment. The cat was sitting in the perfect spot of sunlight and I tried to capture this in a photo. I really love how he is illuminated in the sun, and I think the door in the foreground gives the photo the depth it deserves. I also took this one of my feet going through the hallway. Not sure about the composition of it, but I think it's a fun image too. On the next day I had to go to work, and this is what I have seen first thing in the morning. I always love how the sun shines through the windows, especially in the morning and evenings. And this scene was extremely beautiful, how the sun was reflecting on the stairwell. I quite like the composition of this one as well. I shot this next one during lunch break when I noticed this little dog standing in the shopping window. I took a quick snap without focusing on the composition too much. I believe I should have got a bit closer to the actual subject, but nevertheless I think it's a cute image. Here's another one I shot during my break, which isn't that special to be honest, but still worth showing I guess. This is another morning scene I shot on my way to work. Really love how these old buildings create shadows, and the lady walking past it was the perfect addition to the whole composition. Later that day I drove to a friend's place to feed their cat. This is how she looks at view from the distance. I thought the composition worked really well with the curtains in the foreground and that soft lighting coming from her back, creating this long shadow. And she's just a cute little cat. On the next day, my motivation to shoot shrunk massively. So this is the only photo I took this day. But I guess days like this always happen, especially when you're doing a 30 days challenge. I'm glad I captured this scene though. It was such a dusty sunrise and the street was somewhat really quiet this morning. Unfortunately, my motivation didn't come back the other day, so I only took those two photos of Magda cooking. And well, let's just say I'm not proud of these ones. Day 6 started with another photo from my way to work. It has been raining a lot the night, so I wanted to capture this puddle. It's nothing too special, though I like the color division of the streets going through the puddle. And here is another one of my hand or wedding ring being illuminated by the sun. On day 7 I took my camera on a little grocery walk and snapped this image of an old car I came across. Normally I am too shy to photograph someone else's car, but this time I had the courage to take some time and take some images. And I have to say, I'm really glad I did. I really love how the red color stands out and the composition works really well. And here I captured this little market in my home base. On my way back, I took these two photos of the road and our famous castle being in the back of the image. I used the shutter speed of 1/60th to create a natural movement within the vehicles. This especially stands out for me because of the way the castle is still visible in the back through the window of a tram. I think the timing worked out perfectly. On this day I took some self-portraits to get back into a creative workflow. For this I used my Amaran and dialed in a dark red color to make the images a bit more mysterious. I took some rather simple portraits to get into the mood and then changed the setup to get the lighting from behind. I really liked the circular shape the light creates and wanted to use that for a conceptual image. In the end this one needed a little bit more Photoshop work, but I think it's really worth it. The next day, my wife and I did a little hike in Belgium at a place called Fujifilm. We really enjoyed our time there, wandering through the nature reserve and explored its little wonders. Here are a few of my favorite images I took on this day. But you can watch the full hike of this on my channel to see all the images I took. On day 10, I had a really relaxed day and only took these 2 photos of the street. I really loved how the sunlight was reflected on the street through the windows and this mix of clouds and sun. I didn't really experience much this day, but fell in love with the morning sun shining onto this building, so I took the shot. I was quite busy this day and didn't really have a motivation to go out and shoot something unique. And then I almost forgot about it. Until I saw the light from our bathroom shined onto the kitchen floor and I really liked the heart shape. So I placed Magda into the light and somehow the cat also found a spot in the image. I really like how trashy this one looks. I also took this one off the streets at night, but it's not that special in my opinion. On this day we had a friend over for dinner, so it was quite hectic. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to take some photos, but I took one of a gift they bought us from the Netherlands because we took care of their cat. Day 14 was a rainy day, so I didn't really experience much. I tried to capture the rain from our balcony, but ended up not liking most of the images. The only decent one is this one of the roof and the dark clouds behind, but it's nothing great and you can't even see the rain. Well, I guess you can't always be happy with the images. The next day had a lot more sun and we were invited over to my parents for coffee and a little dog walk. I really enjoy this slow sunrise with my family. It's like every problem disappears for a moment of peace, and that's what I wanted to capture with these images. I loved how gently the sun shined through branches and leaves, and you can almost hear them whistling through the wind. Here's another one of my wife and mom walking together. Our pre-travel stress slowly began to develop, so we made another shopping tour into the city. Unfortunately, this is the only image I took on this day, but let me just tell you, it was delicious. These are 2 very different images. This first one was taken in the evening when the last bit of sun hit the wall. And this next one was taken at night with a flash. 2 very different lighting situations, but somehow they fit quite well together, don't you think? I didn't really have a plan or idea for this day, and as I was looking at the clock, I got rather stressed because I didn't have a photo yet. So I took the simple way and got one of the clock itself. I thought a little long exposure of its numbers changing would add a nice little detail, so I tried some shots and ended up with this one. It was a very hot day and I didn't bother going out, so I took some simple photos of the sunlight onto my hands. Later that day I captured our poor attempt in cooling down our 3rd floor flat. I made some last grocery shoppings and captured this little boy on his bike on my way back home. I really loved the sun and how it backlights onto the boy and reflecting on the ground. I also took this one off the street. This day was filled with suitcase packing and getting ready for our adventure. I didn't really find the time to get some nice images, but I liked the way our plants were collected in our living room and made it look like a whole new room. And then our biggest adventure would begin, Iceland. But before we had to make it to Frankfurt Airport, which is a crazy huge airport. I took this photo while we were looking for something to eat. I also took these 2 of a plane we flew to Iceland with, and it was rather fitting. Now the adventure really begins. Of course I will make some separate videos of the whole trip, so I won't be showing all of my photos here. Just the ones that I think are the best from the days. Starting with this first one of a woman entering the frame. Behind here this crazy cloud and water stream of one of Iceland's geysers. There's another one I took while traveling to the next destinations. A herd of horses, mountains in the back and lupines in the front. I really love that this was shot from a moving car and got the slight motion blur in it. The next day we visited some waterfalls and had a more relaxed day. As we were walking from one waterfall to our car, I took a quick shot of it, standing in front of these mountains. I thought it looked quite cool. Then we visited some old whaling ships that were stranded on the shore and left there to rot. Looking at those huge boats really gave us goosebumps, knowing what happened on them. It was a really impressive view, but also quite uneasy to look at. This day we hit the Golden Circle and visited Thingvellir National Park, a very historical place for Iceland. After walking some hours through the park itself, we visited its famous church and I took this photo of it. I really like the calmness of it with the branches in the foreground. After that, we visited another geyser, one of the more famous ones. What really impressed me there was the landscape around. Those colorful fields with steam crawling up the sky and mountains in the back. It had something really soothing. Next day was packed with a lot more waterfalls. This one was taken at Foss, a huge waterfall that surprisingly wasn't crowded with people. It was really stunning to look up and listen to the water crashing down. The next waterfall was Foss, which was hidden in the mountains and made up for this beautiful photo. I really love the composition here, with the mountains on each side, the waterfall in the back and the stream going towards the viewer. Day 27 started with another waterfall, which had a longer hike upwards. As we finally reached the point where the waterfall was visible, we couldn't believe our eyes. It was the most amazing view onto it. I captured this moment of Magda looking at it and I'm really glad I did. Next up was one of Iceland's famous glaciers, and again it was something I couldn't believe I was seeing. As we were walking towards it from the parking lot, there was this one man standing just in front of it, and this view was just amazing. He looked so small in front of this massive glacier, so I just had to take this shot. This could even be one of my most favorite shots from this trip to Iceland. The next day again started with a beautiful waterfall, but this time the landscape itself was even more impressive. I really loved the valley and placed Magda in front of this view to give his photo a little more depth to it, and it worked pretty good in my opinion. One day later we visited a stunning canyon. On the hike to it, we met this little sheep family and couldn't stop taking photos of them, as they would peacefully stand there and pretend to be models. I really like this one though. And that's already it for day 29, which means that tomorrow would be the last day of this challenge. So one more day to complete this challenge, and being in Iceland made it really easy for me. This day we visited Mývatn and wandered through a little park which was covered with pseudo crates where I took this peaceful photo. Really like the composition here, with the grass and pillars in the foreground, the wide fields and the water and mountains in the back. For the very last photo I initially intended to shoot a self-portrait, so I did this at the next stop. This was a lookout in Mývatn, and I was so impressed by the steam of another Iceland's power plant covering the whole area. So I placed myself right in front of it to take this self-portrait. I think it gives the photo a lot more dynamic, and I really love that this would be the last shot of this challenge. So, 30 days later, what did I learn? Well, first, not every day brings inspiration. Some days I didn't feel like picking up the camera, and some days I didn't really like the photos at all. And then sometimes I just forgot why I started this challenge in the first place. But I kept going, and in the end, that's what changed something. This wasn't about taking my best images. It was about building a habit again. It reminded me to look closer and to slow down. And of course to shoot, even if I felt it wasn't really worth it. And well, some of my favorite images were the most unexpected ones. A sunlit hallway, a market corner, a puddle, moments I would have walked past if I wasn't paying attention. And creatively, it gave me a better understanding on composition, light and color. I started to trust my eye more to take a photo even if it felt strange. And it showed me that inspiration doesn't always strike. Sometimes you just have to show up first. Would I do this again? Absolutely. And maybe you'll join me next time. I will see you in the next video.